All right, Mono Sambonani, hello, how's it? Good morning to this, the Monday edition of Vuka Nazo here on the Big Daddy Limited Show. Apologies for that slightly late start. I'm sure some of you are not complaining because it is a bit too early for some, but it's not too early for us because we are your morning news analysis show where we'll break down the big headlines and help you start your news day. Now, speaking about starting your news day, if you enjoy what we do over here, how about you find our friends over at the Daily Friend? They'll help you cap off or finish off your news day as they come to you from Mondays to Thursday, live at 1:30 p.m. That's the Daily Friend. Hopefully the graphics are on screen, thedailyfriend.co.za. There they are. With that being said, a reminder that if you want to get in touch with us here at the BDL show, then do me a solid favor. Find us, please, at our website at bigdaddyliberty.com or .co.za. There, of course, you can also pledge some support. How do you do that, you're wondering? Well, if you go to our website and you scroll to the bottom, you'll see some various payment options. And you, yes, you can join the growing number of South Africans who are basically contributing 100 Rand a month towards this project as we grow an alternative media space. Now, with that being said, good morning, welcome to it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching this broadcast on YouTube. And make sure, of course, you hit that bell notification so that you're notified every time you see the show, or rather the show is on. And with that being said, hit that like button, people. I've always stressed this. Hit the like button. Do me a solid favor. Just do it. It's a right of entry, if you will. Hit that like button, whether you're watching the simulcast on Facebook, YouTube, or yes, on Twitter, as is the case when it is live. Now, with that being said, enough with that jibber jabber. How about we get straight into the morning's news? So, with that being said, let me begin here. As we say in Afrikaans, hak. Charlize Theron, praat, klomp. Hashtag maakt dit self klaar. That's right. Here we have a situation where Charlize Theron, who by her very nature, who she is, her background, what she's benefited from, speaks the very language that she now argues is a dying language, spoken only by 44 people. That same idiot of a character basically coming under a lot of flack from South Africans, particularly Afrikaans-speaking South Africans, who, for the benefit of the show, I'm going to call the hashtag the 44. It's amazing what 44 people can do. There's a whole damn university campus, hashtag Soltech, which has been built by 44 people, Charlize Theron. But nonetheless, that same idiot, as I mentioned, Charlize Theron, making an absolute fool of herself. And thankfully, the PAN-SALB, that's the PAN, or rather the, as I forget the PAN, the acronym as to who they are. I think the Pan-South African Language Board, the PAN-SALB, basically coming out and slamming this chick's comments and saying, this is just dumb. Look, forget it being factually incorrect. It's just a dumb-ass comment. Let me put that graphic on the screen. As I always say, it takes a while when I'm doing this live. So whilst I'm doing this, please hit that like button. There it is. Well, there she is, rather. Charlize Theron on screen there. Language body slams Theron over Afrikaans comments, where, of course, as I mentioned, the South African Pan-South African Language Board, I'm struggling with this morning, has slammed comments made by South African-born Hollywood actress Charlize Theron. This after the actress said Afrikaans was a, quote, dying language spoken by 44 people in the country. No, very dumb. Anyway, she was, of course, speaking at an interview on a Armless podcast hosted by Sean Hayes and a few other characters there, to which, of course, rightly, South Africans, not only just citizens, but also the PAN-SALB, via its spokesperson, Ewan Ntombenhle Hulu Hulu, I like that surname, Hulu Hulu, said the board was concerned over Theron's disparaging comments. Now, PAN-SALB notes the comments made by Ms. Theron, And they mention them as being, of course, comments, pardon me, is not only disheartening, but disturbing as they are inaccurate and misleading. Hell, here's the kicker. She, that's the spokesperson, Ms. Hulu Hulu, said, according to Stats SA's community survey of 2018, Afrikaans, now get this, Afrikaans is the third most spoken language in the country. I'm going to hit you with that again. And Charlize Theron, are you listening? Afrikaans was the third most spoken language in the country, making up 12.2% of the population. Ms. Hulu Hulu is quoted as saying the comments therefore made by Ms. Theron perpetuate the persistent misconception that Afrikaans is only a language spoken by white Kodbura South Africans, which could not be further from the truth, as 60% of people that speak the language are black. I'm going to hit you with that again, Charlize, because is a dumb throw. The language, as I said, the truth is, as much as 60% of the people that speak the language are black. Furthermore, Afrikaans maintains its official status in terms of the Constitution, is utilized in several cross-governmental communications, and is used as a medium of instruction in South African schools. By her own admission, says Ms. Hulu Hulu, Ms. Theron was taught through our schooling system in her mother tongue, which built the foundation of her rather illustrious career. End of brilliant quote. End of brilliant quote. Need I say more? Need I say more than what Ms. Hulu Hulu from the PANSELB has just aptly said? The comments made by Charlize Theron really are stupid and asinine, and it builds, unfortunately, the ongoing tropes that somehow Afrikaans is a language of oppression. It is a dying language. And why? Because it's individuals who are playing on the racial trope of Afrikaans being a, quote, white language. It simply isn't. 60% plus of people who speak this language are black South Africans. And again, let me go beyond black South Africans. This language is spoken in Southern Africa as a region and in all parts of the world where South Africans are found. So if you can, I'm trying to see how I can end this one. If anything, I would ask of us South Africans, I would ask of those of us who are Afrikaans-speaking South Africans that we nominate Charlize Theron for the game show Wie's die Domste Throw. All right, people, as we move on this morning to a slightly more serious topic, unfortunately, as is the nature with being a South African. As I prepared this particular graphic, a sad reminder, unfortunately, for those who are in the Western Cape, that you need to brace yourself from today, Monday, and through to tomorrow for what will likely be a very violent display by the taxi operators in that part of the world who have embarked on a 2-day strike. Now, why am I preempting this strike as being potentially violent? Because I'm looking at the record of history. I have, on the show in the past, spoken about the violent nature of the taxi operators when they don't get what they're looking for. You'll remember, of course, the Philippi taxi guys and the Nyanga, taxi guys, where when after they were facing law enforcement in that part of the world, proceeded to embark on a wanton disregard for life, liberty, and property rights, burning buses, trashing public infrastructure, destroying their own taxi ranks, and of course waging battles with the police in that part of the world, including targeting police vehicles and burning those. You'll remember those scenes, of course, that we covered here on the show. So it's on that basis that I'm saying that when these same taxi operators now say that they're embarking on industrial action, that is withdrawing their services for 2 days in a strike, that South Africans in that part of the world ought to be very, very careful. Let me bring this image on the screen, which gives greater context as to what I'm perhaps talking about here. A story in the Independent this morning, aptly coining the issue. I'm hoping this graphic is on the screen. Let me fix it and do that. There it is. Western Cape South African Police Service issues a stern warning to opportunists to not turn this taxi shutdown violent. Now, this, of course, in a statement by the police ministry that said integrated law enforcement agencies will be on high alert on both Monday and Tuesday in anticipation of scores of commuters that will be left stranded because of a taxi strike in that part of the world. The warning, of course, is directed at those who may be planning to embark on violent action and disruptions during the taxi strike that may impact the lives of commuters, other transport operators, and of course motorists within the city of Cape Town district. Now, they mentioned here, and I'll conclude with this comment, that in terms of the resources they're going to be deploying, the public order police, respective police stations, and of course, unit contingents, the city of Cape Town's own Metro Police, law enforcement officials, traffic services, and here's the kicker, security companies, presumably private security companies, will be deployed at strategic positions for prompt and coordinated responses, end of quote. So, no buck being spared by the law enforcement officials in that part of the world, because as I mentioned, I will not be surprised. I will not be surprised that even as I speak right now, buses likely in townships, because remember, taxi operators, for as much as they claim to be a service for the poor, they transport over 60% of commuters, yada, 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 they have no problem when they're angry of destroying the very resources, often in poor Black neighborhoods that are competition to them, i.e. buses, i.e. trains. I will not be surprised that even as I speak right now, you will likely find the buses are up in flames. That is how predictable the taxi industry are, sadly, at times when they're unhappy and have a grievance. That is the nature of it. And yes, law enforcement should not only be out in full force, but should literally clamp down in as aggressive a manner as possible and legal, in order for these guys to learn the hard lesson that actually there should be someone who protects the public. Now, I say this, and I know exactly what your sentiment is. Really? SAPS protecting anybody at this stage? I know. So the only real message, therefore, I need to impart on this particular story is if you're in Cape Town, be vigilant, keep safe, and steer very clear from marauding mobs of what will be taxi operators looking to flex their violent muscles. Folks, final story for the day, as I remove this particular graphic. And yeah, a very sobering one, because it speaks to the kind of the consequences, if you will, of what is often a very unaccountable, reckless, and dangerous blue light convoys. And often you perhaps have been a victim of them sort of speeding past you or pushing you out of the way on our country's roads. A massive, massive problem. And as I said, the consequences, unfortunately, of that is that sort of reckless driving that they do at those high speeds, often flashing blue lights for no other reason other than to get a politician to somewhere on time, has the inevitable outcome, usually, of causing accidents and deadly accidents at that. As I open up this graphic, please do me a favor, hit that like button, folks. Let me just get that graphic up on screen. There it is. Unfortunately, in a very sad state of affairs, a convoy that was ferrying the Deputy President, David Mabuza, aka the Cat, that's his actual nickname, the Cat, and boy does he have 9 lives. Basically, a convoy that he was involved in from heading from Mpumalanga to OR Tambo, saw a very hectic crash of one of the vehicles, the support vehicles, which then overturned and rolled a number of times. And of course, there's the image of the vehicle there. Sadly, and I really say this with a heavy, heavy heart, one of the protectors died on the scene, and the 2 others are seriously injured. And you can see why if you look at the state of that vehicle. They often use those very expensive German sedans and SUVs. Now, one of David Mabuza's bodyguards died after Mabuza's convoy was involved in an accident on Sunday morning, basically. Now, the motorcade, as I mentioned, was traveling from Mpumalanga to OR Tambo, and police spokesperson Colonel Athlenda Mate says a tire burst on one of the backup vehicles, causing the vehicle to overturn. Now, quote, 3 members who were in this vehicle sustained serious injuries, where one of these members was unfortunately declared dead at the scene, the driver of that vehicle. And of course, while the other 2 were transported to a nearby hospital for urgent medical care. Now, I raise the story because, again, I must reiterate this. Often when we see these vehicles, they are driving recklessly, aggressively, and at insanely high speeds. Unfortunately, there have been many a politician who have either been injured or even passed away due to these convoys, these high-speed convoys. An example of one minister I actually used to like, who's a bit of a nice guy, was Collins Chabane, pardon me, who you remember a few years ago died in a horrific accident, again, involving high speed of these convoys. His protectors also died in that vehicle. And more recently, Peggy Nkonyeni, I think she's speaker in, a high-profile politician here in KwaZulu-Natal, one of her expensive German sedans in the convoy also crashing, and luckily only injuries involved in that case and no deaths. The point here I'm really trying to get at is this behavior has to be nipped in the bud, and maybe require ANC politicians leaving office for us to see a change. But it must be said, and this is where I'll commend them to an extent, the DA government in the Western Cape, they issued a while back a moratorium on these blue light convoys and the sort of do as they please notion that they have. In fact, DA politicians in that part of the world don't travel by these blue light convoys, which again speaks to that chalk and cheese difference between how politicians view not only their own safety, but also the safety of those around them. To have a speeding convoy of 3, 4, 5 or even 12 vehicles simply isn't safe. It places you and me in danger, and really our families in danger. But with that being said, speaking about families, you know how I am on the show. This is a faith, flag, family, and freedom type show. I want to express my sincere condolences to the family of that protector, that bodyguard who perished in this accident. All right, folks, we wrap it up here this morning. Let me know what you think about any of the stories you saw this morning. A reminder to you that, hey, find us on our website. There, of course, you'll also see any past content that we've done. Pardon me, excuse me. You'll also see any past content that we have done. And you can support the show financially over there. Just 100 Rand a month, guys. Buy me a burger meal with drinks. I think that's what they cost. You'll forgive me, I no longer eat fast food, so I'm not sure what they cost anymore. But donate 100 Rand a month. It definitely helps us hire the editor who we have, and of course the writers who become a bit of a feature on our website. With that being said, a shout out to you, Real Dude Vision, for your 100 Rand super chat. Muchos gracias, Baranki, for the ondersteuning. Gabonga khulu mfowethu. And with that being said, remember, please, to hit that like button on the show. No matter what platform you're watching, do me a solid favor. Just hit that like button right now. And, of course, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. Now, with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, for another episode of Vuka Nazo.